work? Am I on? Hello, and welcome. This is essay writing 102. That's right. Today we're going to be looking at kind of how to formulate a rough draft for an essay. The first thing you want to do is figure out what theme you're going to be looking at. Do you want to look at violence, the theme of power? And, when you're looking at theme, you want to first articulate your theme sentence. And once you have your theme, you could start bridging into what examples you want to pull from the play that explore your theme. And my theme would be the desperate cling to power. And this wrestles with really Macbeth's state of mind. And I'm talking here about, and what I'm talking and looking at here is really that throughout the play you have a decline of a mental state from Macbeth, and him and his wife both suffer consequences of doing that. But what I'm arguing for is that Macbeth throughout the play shows a desperate cling to power, and the three examples that I am pulling out is first the crown, second would be killing and / murdering Banquo, and thirdly, I would say the prophecy, and not the first prophecy where the witches are like, "Hail Macbeth, hail the king," blah blah blah. I'm talking about the final prophecy, where the witches are kind of like, "Hey Macbeth, you're an invincible man who cannot be killed by a man who was born of woman," and Macbeth is kind of like, "Ha, I can hold on to power forever." So my first example would be, and remember, you want to start with your most powerful argument here. So first example would be Banquo. And really, I could talk about how Macbeth cuts his line, right? The plan is that, hey, I've just heard Banquo's prophecy of that, my line of kings will not continue, but he will have kings. Like, he may not become a king, but he's a threat to my power. And so I'm going to start with Banquo. I could also talk about here, for evidence, I could talk about him planning to murder Banquo and the reasoning behind it. But I could also talk about the dinner / feast and how that impacted Macbeth. But, just the initial wrestling with what to do with Banquo is really the evidence I'm going for my first example. The second example would be, here I'm talking about for number 2, is really the false, I spelled that wrong, security. Meaning that, hey, you're giving this great prophecy that no man will kill you, and for evidence, I could easily quote the prophecy I could easily quote the prophecy, but I want to really show this false security and show this confidence that hey, nothing could touch me. Uh, I am, I am, I have complete control of the crown, and really in this stage, Macbeth becomes a tyrant, and for evidence of to showing that in that phase he's clinging to power, that is what I'd pull out. Finally, my final example would be the bloody crown, and that's kind of a symbol that I'm going to be using, but really I'm going to be branching this out into different areas of the play about how in order to grab onto power, Macbeth had to kill Duncan the king, and thus blood was shed. And in order to keep this crown, Banquo was killed. And in order to stop Macduff, if he is a threat, Macduff's wife and his children were all killed. And so the bloody crown, as a symbol for this example, but also the consequences that come with this. And that in order to keep and to cling onto this crown, Macbeth has to suffer the curse of the bloody crown. And for evidence, I could show all these, but I could also show and weave it back into. And I'm not recommending this because I want you to grab evidence from the text, but if I would take this to another level, I could cite 2015 Macbeth and entail that Duncan killing Macbeth will really activate the curse of the crown again, because power was achieved and restored by the use of violence and blood, much of how Macbeth gained and clung onto power. And so when you're writing and when you're thinking, you're writing an essay, you want to grab these examples that are powerful, that connect into your theme, and all flow in together. Okay, that's all for this video. I'm not going to exceed 10 minutes. So until next time, take care, stay healthy, and yeah, goodbye.